going to be covering today in two parts is things that you think about before you even start your marketing, which are critically important to making sure that your marketing and your marketing plan is really well developed. And we're going to be talking about doing a live workshop by the end of this year. Now, raise your hand if you plan to do a workshop sometime this year or early next in the live mode. It does, okay, very good. Raise your hand. See, everybody wants to do something live these days. We've spent a lot of time on doing virtual, and it's a challenge because it's a little bit different product to sell than really doing something live. So I see we've got some people interested, and that's great. But the material that I'm going to be talking about is generic. I mean, it can be applied to any service or any business. The first question I really have is, why do you want to do it? And I think if you don't understand the why, it makes it difficult to be able to put together a marketing plan, because you want to build your marketing plan around why you're doing it. So I'm going to put a little poll up in a few seconds, but I'm going to cover some of the areas on the poll so you're prepared to kind of respond, because it's very good to see where your mindset is. So why do a workshop, a live one? Number one, to reduce workplace stress. You really want to help people with stress. Obviously, you want to make money, which is part of being in business. So making money is critical. But you may also want to be building your brand awareness. A lot of small service companies don't have a strong brand awareness in their communities. Depends upon how much you're involved in the networking and involvement in your community. Some people, I think like Arjuna, who was the chief of the fire department for 20 years, probably is well known. But others may not be the same in that same space. You want to get more business from the companies that you do the workshops for. You want to get more experience being able to do workshops. You want to be known as the stress mastery expert. You want to open doors to new business opportunities and to expand your network. So I'm going to launch this poll. Please indicate what you think are maybe the 2 or 3 top areas where your mindset is. In this poll, we ask the question, why do a stress mastery workshop? As mentioned, if you know your why, your marketing will follow. Polls are very helpful in seeing trends as well as identifying where one's mindset is and what directions you might go. In this poll, 14 webinar participants said that reducing stress is why they want to do a workshop. Very good. But as you will see, over 60% said they want more money, and 50% said they want to build brand and be better known. This shows that the effort needed to help people with stress is predicated on getting better known and building brand. Offering a stress mastery workshop in your area will A, build your brand awareness, B, become better known, and you will help people with stress and make money. So focus on brand awareness and becoming better known in your community. It's the key to success. At the other end of the poll, it shows that only 2 people want the workshop to open doors, which is ironic because marketing to companies when you do a workshop opens doors. It creates brand awareness, being better known, helping people with stress, and opening the doors to the people that make decisions about stress mastery workshops. Once a company sends an employee to your workshop, you now have an open door to sell the company on your services. Think of the workshop as a door opener, not just helping a few people with stress. Before you can market, commit to commit to actually planning to do a workshop. And many of you are doing that right now. So that's critically important. It's always good to see a picture like this where you feel like you're really touching people and you're sitting down and you're having conversation and you're really getting into some of the issues that relate to stress and how people can reduce and master that stress. So it's really important to kind of put that mindset and maybe a goal in your mind to say, this is what I want to be doing. Okay, there are many decisions to make before you get into marketing, and I'm going to cover these kind of quickly because, again, people will need to leave. We want to talk about the who, the when, where, how, why, and what. And when we start marketing, we need to really keep our mind on why we're doing it. So why do a live workshop? We've discussed that. You need to know your why and have your vision. Understanding what motivates you to do the workshops that you want to do. Ask yourself every day, am I doing what I should be doing to reach my goals as rapidly as possible? That's a loaded statement. It really requires you to say to yourself, stop, or should I continue doing what I'm doing? Are we off task? If my goal is to do a workshop in 6 months or 5 months, then my goal should be at the top of my mind, and I should be focused as much as I can on doing that. So every day, and I find that people, and myself included, get off track. How and who will conduct your workshop? Here we get into how, when we were putting this together, I've done one-person shows. I don't know about you, but they're great to do. But I also like to have other people part of that presentation. But if you're doing a half day or full day workshop, it takes a lot out of you. It's good to have another person to bounce things off, maybe give other tasks or opportunities to that individual to focus on things they're good at. The question is, who will conduct your workshop has to be figured out right up front. Because once you do that, then it kind of fits into, if you're going to be doing meditation and you're not a meditation person, then you might bring somebody in, or maybe yoga. I used to bring in yoga and other individuals, one Tai Chi at one point, to show other ways in which to reduce stress. The focus of our workshops were always on how do we change our mind and how do we respond to the stressors in our life. But unless we teach people how to reduce their stress, it's often very difficult for them to focus on how to change what I think and how I perceive the stressors in my life. Another one that's really important is your target market. A lot of times we don't really have this clear in our minds, and I hope you do. Are you going after the C-suite, the senior executives? Are you going after executives and management in general? Are you looking at supervisors or just general staff? Or are you looking at all of the above, which I don't recommend? Basically, you want to keep your workshops pretty homogeneous as much as you can. You might want to have supervisors and management together, but might make an interesting combination because the management provides often a lot of stress to the individuals and staff, and you can get good conversation going. But if you're going to be marketing your workshop to this group, then how are you going to get there? How are you going to reach these people? So then you have to ask the question, who are the decision makers? And again, if you go through the process of this, HR is very common, the people that we want to talk to, but we all know that HR often don't have the purse strings. So you want to get to the higher level as possible. There are also people that influence decision makers, and they might be the assistant or associate to a senior management who has an interest in wellness and well-being and stress. They may be the individual. So when we start putting the marketing plan together, we need to start thinking about how do we reach those individuals that are the decision makers. Who's your target market? What companies do you want to reach? This is a very important area. When we did this workshop, and I'll share more of the details when we get into the actual marketing area, we chose to go to the statewide, but primarily in the city. So Phoenix and Tucson. And our focus was to reach people in the management and supervisory level. So you want to determine if you're going to go statewide, regional, nationwide, whatever it is, you got to figure that out because that's going to make a difference on your marketing. Also, do you want to do a vertical market? If you want to stay in the same city, fine. Do you want to focus on just one type of group of individuals? Perhaps you've got a background in healthcare and you want to just focus on healthcare workers. There are many vertical markets that, if you put your mind to it, would be ideal to go after. Again, back to Arjuna, who was chief of fire department, I believe is going after and talking to people who are in leadership positions as well as other firefighters, not just in his hometown, but across Canada. So every one of you has a background that might fit into some of these areas. I know, for example, Paula did quite a bit of work with the financial institutions in Chicago. That may be a niche market that you want to expand on and use going forward. Same with insurance companies. What decisions you make here impacts what you do in marketing. Often we have to ask the question, who's going to pay for it? If you're going after individuals, it's a tough market. Very hard to get individuals to pony up to pay to go to a workshop. So that's why we go to the companies and try to get them to become the conduit to reach the individuals within the company, the employees. If you're going, it is possible to do a citywide stress mastery program for everybody in the city. In that case, you might want to connect with the chambers of commerce and other large organizations to work with, because you're going to be asking people to pay a certain amount of money to go to your workshop. Uh, I don't, I've never really done much of that. I will say that the first workshop that was done in the community in Phoenix, in Tucson, was at the University of Arizona Medical School. And through Project Well Aware, which was funded by the Kellogg Foundation, they through the, and we at that time were only supplying them with the SMQ. They provided a citywide program on stress, which was very successful, in fact, but they had the funding from a major organization, the Kellogg Foundation. So if you've got the funding to do it and the interest, that's a good way to go. Then, who are the decision makers? We've talked a little bit about that. And will you provide any complimentary seats? We'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. What type of workshop are you going to do? If you don't make this decision up front, you might want to make it as soon as possible. Half day, full day. We're really talking about trying to do a half day or full day workshop on stress mastery by the end of 2022. But you can do it over time. You can do a 4 to 6 week program. And again, later on with feedback, I'm happy to hear how you're all looking at what you want to do and how you want to do it. There's a lot of ways in which to structure the stress mastery program, which, by the way, I'm not going to get into the details of structuring the program today because we're talking marketing. But think about possibility doing a 4 to 6 week program with our new Jewish version of the stress mastery guide. We're talking about doing something very similar like this, where we'd have 6 weeks, 2 hours a week for 6 weeks, and with some coaching included in that process. So are you going to include coaching? If you include coaching, then you're going to add more money, a cost to the proposal. So if you're going to provide that, it's got to be built in some way. So these decisions, again, impact what you do later on. What type of workshop will you do? Is it going to be experiential? You're going to do meditation, progressive relaxation, deep breathing? Will you do, hopefully you'll be doing cognitive restructuring, helping people to rethink and determine how they look and perceive the stressors in their world. And some combination of the two seems to work really well. People need to have some tools to bring the levels down. But as someone just said yesterday, 2 days ago, there's a lot of money being put into healthcare, burnout in healthcare through, as you well know, my friend, the Dr. Laura Green Foundation. What he said was, if I hear one person say to me, I have another app on meditation, I think I'll scream. They want more than just apps to do progressive relaxation or deep breathing. They need tools to help them begin to reduce and master stress on a daily basis. Who's going to be facilitator? We talked a little bit about that. Will it be large and small group sessions? Here again, that's how you structure your program. Typically, there's small and large group plus interactive sessions that will allow for learning of certain techniques. Do you do any role playing? Exercises, what kind? So all of these decisions go into the design of your program, but also impacts the overall marketing. Okay, how will it be conducted? We're talking live, but maybe you want to do a live plus some virtual, or maybe simply a live plus some coaching before, during, or after the course of the training. Will you include wellness? And what portions of wellness be included in it? This will all lead to creating media materials that highlight what you want to communicate to your target market. Consider sponsorships. We found this, and I found this to be very helpful. If you can get a sponsor, you're going to cut the cost of your program. You're going to make more money. In some cases, you can get sponsors that'll actually pay for all of the marketing, whether it's going to be perhaps printed materials, maybe even sending out flyers, as well as it building some of the website. And I'll show you in a second. In our case, we went to healthcare companies and hospitals to be our sponsors. Wellness organizations, nonprofit or for-profit, are great groups. If you belong to them, you can go to the director and say, look, we'd like to do a workshop on stress mastery. And would you be part of our program? Would you help reach the organizations that you work with? Insurance companies have many tendrils out into companies. They're looking for individuals and groups to be able to provide programs on stress. So consider sponsorship and co-branding when you're doing your marketing. Resorts, especially when you have like health resorts, health clubs. You can go to chiropractors who have large practices and say, look, they always want to get more business. Would you consider being a sponsor? Maybe they would put some money up or simply help you in the marketing of it. Great way to go. Don't overlook it, because it's I think it increases the effectiveness of your program. In our program, we work with the Wellness Council of Arizona, which is statewide, and they had something like 200,000 or 300,000 employees that they've touched base with. It's very major. Honor Health gave us space, gave us the room for training, all the materials that we needed for projection and presentation. The same with the Tucson Medical Center. Down in Tucson, they gave us the materials that we needed and the space in exchange for a couple of seats for some of their employees. But we had to go through the Wellness Council of Arizona, because healthcare companies they have a kind of a policy of basically going through nonprofit organizations. They will work with for-profit organizations. They probably would charge something for the space, depending upon how persuasive you are in getting to them. But again, think about the sponsorship in your neighborhood, your area. Who could you go to kind of pair up with? It just simply provides more exposure for you and more awareness of who you are, and also gives you credibility that maybe you don't quite have as much as you think you have, and this would be helpful. Where will it be conducted? Of course, as I just said before, we did it at the hospitals, but we purchased conference centers, corporate training, hotels, resorts, hospital training centers, wellness clinics, or your office. So all of these become possibilities. But again, you got to have, this is before you even start your marketing. These things have to be thought through and decisions made. When will it be conducted? This is kind of important, because I've done workshops in conflict with football games. So think your time of day, be sure to determine if there are conflicts with other local or national holidays or events. But again, you can change your dates, which I've done in the past. If I found that I was not getting the results that I wanted on my marketing early enough on, I might push the date maybe a week or 2 weeks. How committed are you to doing a stress mastery workshop in 2022? I asked you that before, but I have a little poll that I'm going to do right now. The results of the poll are in, and as you can see, 62%, or 8 out of 13, are committed or very committed to doing a workshop this year. That's encouraging. I have found, and I think you have too, that once you make a decision to do something maybe you've not done before, it all changes the world. The whole thing, everything changes around you. What you do, when you do it, it makes a big difference. So those are the items that I think you all know about, but need to be talked about and discussed and thought through, because it will affect your marketing. You know, in branding, we talk about how to make your workshop and your company top of mind. That's the goal of almost every company that I've ever worked with.
Jim, there's a question here from Rosina.
Yeah.
She said how to find whom to contact for sponsoring.
how define whom to contact for sponsoring? Good question. I just went to the whole, I just went to the, I called Honor Health, and I found the person who was in charge of facilities and the, I forget the exact name, but she was in charge of the space and coordinating who used it in the hospital. And I said, who do we talk to that, because we'd like to do a workshop at Honor Health. Who should I talk to about possibly getting some space and time at your hospital? And she put me in touch with another individual. I can't remember the names. And we just started talking. They said, that's a great idea. We'll be happy to be on your masthead and then your marketing materials. And I have also offered her a couple seats for employees. And they promoted the workshop to all of their employees. And they paid for others to come who they felt needed to be in the workshop. In other companies down in Tucson, up here in Phoenix too, we had all the companies paid for everybody except one or two people. So we went to Tucson Electric Power. You can go to you can call the insurance companies up and your health companies and just begin to ask questions. We're looking for a sponsor for a workshop on stress mastery. Would you be interested, or who would I talk to who would be interested in that? I know companies that have senior executive officers are heavily involved in wellness. In Tucson, Jim Click, who owns about 9 dealerships, was instrumental in getting Canyon Ranch and funding Canyon Ranch to get started 30 years ago. And he hired me to come in. In fact, the first SMQ corporate program that I did was for Jim Click Automotive Group. And he brought me in and paid me very well to do a small workshop for about 8 guys. And it went off really well. And then we became good friends, learned more about it, and then he became involved in sending people to the workshop. I mean, I'm giving you a little story here, but I think it's important to know that you'd be surprised at how receptive people are if they have an interest in wellness and health for their employees, and if they want to look good to the community as part of this effort that you're putting through, then I think it would be something that you can accomplish. It does take some effort and it does take some phone calls. I'm going to cover some more of these. The benefits and features, the communication plan, the website page that you put for a landing page for your website, how to create the media, how to implement your plan, track your leads into closed sales, and of course, do your workshop. When you're putting your media together, everybody's heard this, but I have to hear it myself over and over again. Focus on the benefits, use the features as backup and supportive material. People buy because they feel it's either going to benefit them or they feel uncomfortable if they don't do it. So you got the motivation to do and hire you to come in and do a workshop or to send people to your workshop is that they see that there'll be a benefit. Many companies have problem employees. I keep harping back on the healthcare industry. There's money being spent on helping physicians and healthcare workers prevent burnout and deal with stress. So on your materials, you're going to be showing the date of your workshop, time and start, the location, key presenters, co-sponsors, call to action, and link to your webpage, special offers and early bird deals. So when you're doing like an email blast, so this is one we created. It worked. Look at this and say, well, what do we learn from it? Well, we've got the Wellness Council of Arizona. We've got us up here. We've got the title of the workshop, which you can call whatever you want. This is what they're going to get out of it. They're going to learn about the 7 warning signs of stress, to use proven ways to reduce stress on the spot, how to optimize stress for improved health and productivity, how to create work-life balance, how mindfulness can help create peak performance, how not to be a stressor to your coworkers, team, or staff, how to prevent stress from recurring, how to develop a plan to master stress, and much more, including mindfulness, deep breathing, yoga, visualization, and progressive relaxation. Tucson, guess the date, the location. It's a half-day workshop, space is limited. And this was an email blast that went out to companies in our database.
Oh, sorry, Jim, I just wanted to point out something that Paul has raised in the chat as well. And I think he's raised a really good point. Any thoughts about focusing on the problems the workshop will address? And I think, that also can be just like focusing on the pain points, what are the problems that it creates if not dealt with?
Yep, that's right. And I think what you see here is only one of maybe 10 different iterations of the email blast. You don't know what's going to pull. We went from a very positive image here, and I think you'll see a little bit later, one that was more negative. What you put in here, you can do an A/B test. You can do one that looks with a positive result, positive images, one showing people under stress, and that you are going to solve the stress problem for that company, for that organization, that individual. I'm only giving you a model here. The design of this is really up to you and how you put it together, what the words are, and how you put your brand on it and all that. I mean, if I were to do this today, I'd probably do it very differently. You've heard me talk about communication plans. Without a plan on these areas, you won't know what to do. The first area is the website. Obviously, you're going to do some social media, might do some direct marketing. You might do some networking. Chances are you won't do too much on TV, radio, but you might get picked up on the local TV morning station, the news station, to highlight what you're going to be providing in your workshop, and that might be something covered if it's unique. You're probably not going to do magazines, but there are certain publications that if you are going to the public, you can go on Craigslist, for example. They list all kinds of events that are happening in the community. One publication that I highly recommend is the Business Journal. In every city, in every country, I think in every country, they have the Phoenix, Tucson, Scottsdale Business Journal. They cover local events and happenings, and they'll put in there workshops that are being done in a variety of areas. You might even want to run an ad. The Business Journal is going after the business community. If you're a businessman or woman, chances are you're reading the Business Journal because it's in your town, it's in your location, and it's important. It's something, again, I won't get into details, because when you get into the details, that's where the magic happens. When you start figuring out, okay, what could I do in magazine A versus B, or newspaper A versus B? Your internet, of course, is your social media. Personal sales, a very successful training company in Phoenix years ago, had a full-time marketing person, and all she did was contact and sold them on their workshops. They did very, very well. So if you got something, if you got your materials in place, you got your program in place, the personal sales avenue, if you walked into an HR department and says, this is something we can do for you, and let me show you how we can help your employees, and you have your dog and pony show down, and it's concise and it shows the benefits, and here's what it's all about, you may get some response to that. So you might want to hire a salesperson. In the marketing materials that I gave you through from associates in particular, there's a template that you can use. Why is this important? Because I don't know about you, but I forget things all the time. I've got so many things that I've got to do right now, and I'm trying to stay focused on what I should be doing. And this helps me to know what I should be doing every day. Sometimes when I, get going in the morning and I'm trying to figure out, well, I've got 18 different things I should be doing, I might pull up my little schedule here, my communication schedule, and say, okay, I really haven't finished my webpage. So what I should be working on that. You kind of tick away at the things you can do, and maybe you have to hire somebody to do some things. If you're going to do flyers, fine, create a flyer. Who's going to create the flyer? Who's going to deliver it? How are you going to get it to somebody? So each of these steps, if they're followed, results in success. If you don't do some of these, what's in this particular example here may not be relevant to you, but for example, belonging to SHRM, Society for Human Resource Management, or the Association for Training and Development, could be a good way for you to get to certain companies. Doing webinars could also be very good. So you want to get a communication plan put together. Here's one I found recently. It's on the internet. You can get this from Small Business Trends. What are you going to do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday? We need structure to be successful. And if things are not working, do something different. Not everything works. Twitter may be the worst thing in the world for what you want to accomplish. LinkedIn, it might be better. How do you use LinkedIn effectively? So I like this as another way in which to organize what you need to do on a weekly basis. It's not a long-term plan, but it is a plan. With your communication plan, it will help you to aim your efforts, be more consistent, be focused and organized, be better aligned with your strategy, and you don't need to think about what to do too much. and you'll spend less time on social media. So we're creating a meeting. Let's talk about the website. You want to create a web page. This isn't actually the web page. This was a flyer, but it's a good example of how it gets somebody to basically sign up. A vital employee workshop on how to master stress, presented by me, Dan Johnson, and Cheyenne Autumn. And she was with United Healthcare to go to the webpage. So this is our webpage that I created to help people sign up, basically. And this one here, it's got says what it's going to be, check-in time, who will benefit. Now, this is how you get into some of the details. More about who will benefit, what they'll learn again. You want to keep that in front of their mind, what the program will be, register early, discount for Honor Health employees. And here it was a very inexpensive workshop. I would not do it this way again. So this is one, and you have your cart, which you go in there and it will say, sign up with PayPal. And bingo, there it's done. So you want to have this well crafted out, but it did work. How many of you are on social media? What social media do you use most? So it's a pretty good idea. Anybody doing live streaming? I know Rosita does some, and anybody doing some live streaming?
I do podcast, live streaming on LinkedIn. I used to do it on Facebook and YouTube, but now I just do on LinkedIn.
Has that worked out okay for you?
It's kind of mixed results.
Yeah, it's a challenge. Marketing is not easy. Anybody else do live streaming? It's something you want to consider because it can be effective. I know that two of our associates, Barbara and Deborah, are definitely doing it, and I think having some pretty good results. Again, back to if you're doing social media, get some way in which to capture what you're doing. Same with on Facebook and LinkedIn. There's a couple of things you want to be sure you do. You want it up to date. If you're going to be doing a workshop, it definitely needs to be there and easy to identify and see, so people who happen to land on your Facebook page can learn about it and click on it. If you belong to groups, you post to groups. Lisa Kelly's good on posting constantly to different groups, including LinkedIn and special groups within LinkedIn. How many people are posting articles? Raise your hand. Anybody posting articles on LinkedIn? Well, I think if the more you can do on articles, make what now? Juan, you're doing some work with the.
Okay, yes, we do. We post some articles every week, twice a week, maybe some about, maybe we have followers, but it's not reaching some sales. Followers, yes, but no sales.
Well, they say that it's important to do it frequently and pretty much at almost the same time every week if you can, but I don't think that's possible for many of us. But I think keeping a presence out there, LinkedIn is really important. Anyway, basically, you want to make sure your Facebook and your LinkedIn website is up and running and looking good. All right, let's talk about your database. I want to ask another poll here. How many of you have a database? I want to know a little bit about that database. Do you have an email database? How many emails do you have in your database? What email program do you use? Less than 100, 3, 500 plus. Who's that? Who's got 500 plus emails?
Hi, Jim. It's me, Christina.
Ah, Christina, great.
Yeah.
How did you get all your emails?
I mean, I've been in business a long time. I mean, these aren't companies, but like individuals, like I don't know how many companies I have, quite a few also, but I don't know, over the years, like I blog and whenever I do a workshop somewhere, I have everybody, potentially sign up for my email list. If I do a health fair, I have people sign up. Any new clients I put into into my email list.
You're a good model. Everybody should follow Christina. That is
it's hard.
Well, I think
it's honestly a discipline. I forget also. I could have way more, but any company that you work with, like just have people wherever you are, just have people have a sign up sheet and put a little box there. Would you like to receive, more tips and tools and resources and,
Do you, Christina, do you use your email list regularly?
Yes.
Okay.
I email my list every week
Okay.
Sometimes I miss a week because, so it happens, but generally speaking, I send out an email, like a blog. I send out an article information every week to my list. Yeah.
Well, that's a discipline. And I think it's hard. Why I keep harping back to the communication plan is that helps to discipline you to do what you want to do. If we're all guilty of too many things to do, but if we can be focused on those things that are most important, that will be your saving grace. It will help you a great deal. So two
And
of you
there's
don't
lots of things. Oh, sorry.
go ahead. No, you will go ahead.
There's lots of things that can help you do that. Like there's a lot of, people out there that can help, and they can write articles and you can buy them and then you can tweak them to make them your own, like it. But they say that, not they say, I mean, almost every time I put out a blog, maybe less now than in the beginning, I always book a couple of appointments at least, right? Because it's top of mind type stuff. So
Good.
Anyway.
Oh, I said, could Christina share that in the chat? What she was saying, that you could reach out to, you have somebody, what were you saying, that you have somebody write them and then you buy them and tweak them?
you can do that. Yeah, there's all kinds of different resources out there for articles and ideas, and tons of people. There's, I don't know, like Lori Kennedy. It depends what market you're in, of course, right? So I mean, stress would be, so there's Jamie Jones. I mean, there's tons and tons of, like, if you just look it up, I mean, I could add a few and send them to James if you want, but there's ways to make it simple, because writing articles is very time consuming, but also it doesn't have to be long. And now vlogging is really, I want to start doing a little bit more of that, is speaking. Instead of writing an email, you can just talk to them, say, hey, I don't know, add some kind of, information about stress. If, the topic that you're talking about is stress. If it's, if I'm talking about hormones, then I'll, you can, just, hey, here's a quick tip. Here's, there's so many ideas, like in wellness, like Mark Hyman is so fabulous. And, he puts out my top 5 favorite things, this week. And I don't know, he might add a smoothie that he discovered, a blender that he thought was cool, a supplement that he thought was interesting. And so it doesn't have to be complicated. And I think that that's what we do as people. We make it more complicated than it needs to be. So I think that the whole LinkedIn article thing is super important to do, but I have in my head made that so complicated, I haven't started yet. But I think that is maybe a little more involved. I don't know that you could buy articles for LinkedIn, but certainly for your blog and your own personal email system, you could.
Well, that is well said. And Rosina said that it's better to, let's see, go up here. It's better to post blog on your website and link to LinkedIn, or post articles directly on LinkedIn. So yeah, I think the blogging is a way for you to get awareness of who you are, what you do. When you get into the specifics on when you're marketing the workshop, you got to find a way to kind of link that into whatever if you can, on the blogging, but you can't do it on all the blogs. So blogging is more general. Now if I see an article that I like, I will copy it and put it into a Word document, and then I will file it under articles. And I probably have maybe 500 articles. I don't use them. I don't copy them. They're inspirational. If I see something I want to write on, I'll then just write on it. So I never want to take somebody's words and use their words. So be careful of that. But the point really here is one of you has no database. Well, it says here 2. Do you have an email database? 2 do not. So I think right now that would be good for you to start building your email database. And how do you do that? Well, there are a number of email CRMs that you can get a hold of. At any rate, get a way in which to capture your emails. If you have a website, a sign up form, and give something away so people will sign up and get an article that you can provide to them. Or I've created a new short assessment on stress. It's not scientifically developed. It has good content validity. It's very short, about 10 questions. This could be something you could give out so people could begin to look at how they are looking at how they're dealing with stress. Anything that you have that you can give on your website, so they will sign up and be part of your MailChimp or whatever you're using. Here's another email blast about the same. as before, but a little bit different. Another one that we used,
Is
this one.
that, excuse me, Jim, is that something you could share with us and each of us could post on our website?
Yes, in fact, this is already in the resources. There's a section in the resources that has, I think, all of these examples. If not, I will make sure that you do get them. But if you go to the resources, again, the associates have access to the marketing materials. That's in there. You can use these. And again, make it your own.
Yeah, I think Melody had mentioned earlier about maybe updating some of us as maybe since we haven't been active with it, that you could share that link again.
Sure.
Yeah,
I
for
will
us,
be happy to do that.
for the resource page for, that would be the resources page for Stress Mastery Associates.
And I'm going to be beefing that up as we go forward. I definitely want to have this in there.
Okay, thank you.
The other thing that I want to talk about right now, and I think is becoming more and more prevalent, is the use of videos. I don't have a poll on this, but I know Rosina is doing quite a bit of videos. If you're going to be creating a video, you want to make sure you know the purpose of that video, so it's very clear that you're accomplishing what you want to accomplish. Choose your topics wisely. They don't have to be complicated. The video should be short. You can hire a professional, but you don't need to. You can use your iPhone or Android. That works fine. Speak from the heart. A lot of people prefer to have something that is not as polished, more human. So it's you that they're seeing and getting to know. And I'm going to show you some examples right now that would be helpful for you. So here, I don't think Tilda's with us today, but we created a video that about the SMQ and the stress program, and she's and several others. Paul Bailey's the same with Paul, wanted to make it something branded around them. So what we did was we put Tilda as our licensed stress master associate.
Looking to gain a better understanding of how.
You don't want to hear that, but my point is that we've got a kind of like a donut. You have the brand in the beginning, and at the very end, you have more information about her program. And of course, in the text down below, a link, she can put a link to her website and to get in touch with her. So you can use what we have, and we can modify it for you if you want, make it look like yours. And I think, Paula, you've got one too, I believe.
Yeah, I do. But so, you're aware of Reels, Jim? Those the real short clip, 3 second, 4 second videos that are out there. And I had tried, and I'm asking you permission too, but I was playing around with it because the video that you're speaking of here is like maybe about 10 minutes long. So I was wondering about if I had permission to take clips and just have these reels go up there. And so you're giving them little bits and pieces of information, so that it might amount to 10 versus them, because our attention span is so short that people are now going to reels. All right. And they're looking at these reels because they're like 5 seconds.
That's right.
Or longer. So
Right.
if I could, which I did, but I deleted it because it cut off, but I have to work with it. You have to have a certain tool, but to take segments of that, do I have permission?
Oh, sure. Yeah, you can do that.
Okay.
And this one here is the original one is 5 minutes long. Then this is down to three. This is down to 3 minutes and 3 seconds. So it can be pared down. And I'm happy to work with you on that if you need some help. Another one that Rosina is doing a lot of work in this area. This is from her website. And she's got a whole Stress to Joy online course with Dr. Rosina. It's only 1 minute and 14 seconds. Nice.
Many people are auditory or visual learners. Therefore, I have created the Stress to Joy program to be modular. Whereas the book helps you take the journey from stress to joy with the examples of 3 friends, the course helps you apply those techniques specifically when you're going through different stress symptoms, like not being able to sleep or feeling more irritable or feeling overwhelmed. It also helps you develop happiness habits if your stress is under control. The accompanying action guide can help you reflect and practice these tools, and then you can refer to it anytime that you want. I'm also including a bonus. These are 21 1 to 3 minute audio exercises that would help you master the skill of mindfulness and make it part of your life. You can download these videos and audios and listen to them anytime, anywhere that is convenient for you. I invite you to click the link and start your journey from stress to joy.
Yeah, Rosina, I don't know how I came across you, but I did. And it had nothing to do with stress mastery, but I even commented, brought it to my group about what you had done. Great job.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's
Yeah,
very,
yeah.
very well done. Ellen, who couldn't make it today because the timing was wrong, but has her own, this is something she's got on her website. It's kind of cute, but it shows how human she is. The point of these little examples here is that they're done differently. Each person has used a video to highlight a program or to show what they do or talk about the stress mastery program. There's Adrian. Adrian, are you with us? Now, this Adrian's in Romania, so you're going to hear some Romanian, but he does a nice job of, if I can get it. The bottom line is that the use of videos, I think, is one of the best things you can do. The key, though, is to get the videos in the hands of people to actually see them. How to get started? What's your story? Define it. Why is it important? Script it. Once you start writing a script, it becomes pretty, it's not easy, but it will help you to write in a way that communicates what it is you want to say to the individual and what you want them to hear and see about you and about the program. And it can be, again, very short and put it up on all of the different media, plus your website. The question is whether you want a voiceover or do your own voice. Both are good. I think if you use your own voice, that's just fine. Film it using Zoom or other media, brand it, make sure that you have your brand all over it. If you have an offer, make sure the offer shows up on the screen and that there's a way to get it, to download it as you have people come there and they want to get it, and then share it through all your media. So these are, this is an important area, and I think we need to do more in that area. One area that's underlooked is USPS. You know, the Postal Service has got it's very expensive, but you can use it carefully to reach targeted people, either with first-class mail, personal emails, letters, or by using bulk mail. I'm not saying you should do it, but I think given the fact that things are going up, costs are going up a lot, the effectiveness of it might not be as good as it used to be. I don't know what the rate for bulk mail is these days.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you.
So again, just keep following your plan. Track your leads. We talked about, here's the CRMs, HubSpot, Pipedrive, Monday Sales, or just use Excel. If you do your CRM, you will increase your sales. I'll guarantee you. You will have more success. One thing I do try to do with my leads is I categorize them into what I call the 20 percenters and everybody else. If I have people that have shown an interest in becoming an associate or buying our stress mastery questionnaire for their company, they go on my 20% list. And I don't let them off that list until they either say they don't want to be on it, which is almost never, or it's clear that they're not going to do anything and they don't belong there. But if somebody shows an interest in, you know, Paul and I have a lead in Chicago right now, Chelsea, this has been now 2.5 years or whatever, before the pandemic. We were ready to go with a workshop and training for a very large company in the Chicago area. It's actually nationwide. Chelsea and I have traded emails, and finally she came back after the pandemic with an email saying we're ready to get started again. Well, she's on my list. Guess what? I haven't heard from her in 2 months. What happened? I don't know, but she's going to be on my trickle list to say, hey, how are you doing? Anything happening? We'd love to work with you. Please keep me informed. And usually they write back with a nice email saying, well, we just can't make a decision right now. Let's hang in there. Maybe you won't hear anything at all. track your leads, categorize them, and follow up on them is a sales technique that does work, but it takes discipline. Streamline your sales funnel. All of these things are important elements that can make sales a much more effective way. So that's it. This is a very quick overview of the key elements. It doesn't cover all of them. It doesn't get into the details of what you should be doing in each particular area. But if you follow these and get disciplined and work on each of these areas, I'll guarantee you you'll get your workshop sold, and I will help you to do that. With that, I'm gonna open it up for discussion and get back to stop sharing.
She said, just remember that ad deadlines for magazines and print are quite far in advance, 6 to 8 weeks minimum.
I think the reels are smart. Who's doing the reels? How do you get on reels?
Pardon me?
How do you get on reels?
Well, there's a couple of ways, but I mean, you could just do it through Facebook, but then there's other ways of doing it. Rosina, aren't you on, are yours reels or are yours just videos? Yeah, but you can do, Facebook has them. I don't know if LinkedIn has them. Do they, Melody?
There's a couple of different ways you can do reels. And there's a few people out there doing workshops on how to do reels now. But I think the whole concept started with TikTok, being those really short, like very concise kinds of things. And you can create them on TikTok, but if you carry them then through to other social media, it's going to have the TikTok brand on it. So people are now recommending, don't create it on TikTok, you can create it on Instagram or on Facebook. If you go on Facebook on your mobile phone, there's a tab to create reels. There's a tab to actually go through and you create a reel, and then you can do your editing in that tab as well. Like in that, it has all the functions. So you can add words, you can do editing, you can add soundtracks, you can, you know what I mean? So there's lots of options. I think they've tried to make it really easy to create it right on Facebook, and then you can share it through to the other social media.
That might be a helpful mini workshop. Help people out with that. Because a lot of people don't do what you're saying. I mean, what you say to me is good, but actually helping them to be able to do that, I think would be very helpful. What other challenges do people have in terms of doing a workshop this year? What do you take away from this that might be both positive, but also still the challenges that you might be facing in marketing and selling a workshop this year?
Jim, I just had a question. When you brought up collaborating, I mean, I definitely agree with that. I think it tends to work really well to collaborate with other coaches. Is there any way to share all of our contact information, including some of the other associates, and maybe have a few bullets what some of our specialties are?
Sure. Well, certainly everybody, you'll get a list of everybody that's here today. And I strongly encourage collaboration among associates. We've had that happen over the years, and it does work out. Look at Melody and Paula and others that really work together. So they're all available. I mean, I think just reaching out to everybody, and I think maybe put a little list together where you can have the links and what they can share what they do and how they do it. So collaboration is really very important, especially if you have experience doing certain things that maybe dovetail. And the same with back with you collaborate with people who are not just like you, but have complementary skills.
Right.
So that, it's good to be, if you're two great presenters and you're vying for attention, but maybe one is better facilitator and one's a better presenter, then you have a nice match. And I always like that.
Right. I mean, listen, obviously stress is all of our specialties. That's why we're here today. But like you mentioned, there might be individuals out there that do meditation or yoga or, something else that we aren't certified in, that we would love to bring in another coach or facilitator to a program.
Well, I found that when I needed a yoga person, I just call a yoga studio and say, does anybody want to come to the workshop and show, what we do? And you can bring your flyers and any special deals that you have, you can pass them out at the group. When we did a workshop for the Postal Service way back when, I was able to get, I'd say 20, maybe 25 massage therapists to come into the US Postal Service at Christmas time to do 15-minute chair massages. And they would schedule, and it was 24 hours, from morning to night. And they came in and they would spend maybe an hour or two there. Each one would have amount of time. And then they could pass their cards out to the individuals who came in for their 15 minutes. And it worked really well. People loved it. These postal workers back then, they really had a lot to do. They compared to today. So I don't have any problem if you ask, if they see a benefit to them, they're going to do it. Some will be more enthusiastic than others. I used to have one person who, she was one of the first yoga persons in Tucson. And when I started doing this, she became my go-to person. Whenever we did a workshop, I'd call her up, and she had a wonderful story and how she changed her life around and how yoga was very important to her, and became a really good facilitator. So that's how I would do it.
And Alan, since he created the Facebook group, or aren't you his, don't you work with Jim?
Yeah.
I don't know if you created the group or anything, but that, I was saying to Jim that this is where we should encourage everyone to go to that group and say, hey, does anybody have ideas on how we can do this? Or does anybody in the group, especially if you're doing it virtually, does anybody in the group, are you, certified in yoga that you could do something virtually in yoga just to make this group? Because I think that having that group is something really good for us, to reach out and collaborate that way and share.
Right. Yeah, we should be supporting each other, and we may have many, many complementary resources besides just Stress Master. So I think that's a great idea, just to make
to market that Facebook group to let people know this is really the place to go and ask for help and ideas, because there's so many of us that are in that group, whether they're active or not. It can inspire people to be active now, but for the ones that are trying to be active, I think the Facebook group would be very beneficial for us.
Melody and Paula, you did some work on putting together a program together. You worked quite hard on that. Is it still viable?
Yeah, it is. We're ready to go with it at any time. We completed it. We've got are we up 7 weeks? We created a 7-week workshop, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks. So it includes, the first part is with stress. And then, you could always, depending on what the needs are of the company, but then we got one with sleep. And then just recently we had completed a nutritional workshop, nutrition and stress related workshop. So that all of us, since we as a group,
We've got different modules.
Right. They're all modules.
So we can have, it would be adaptable to be like, you could pick and choose a couple of modules if they only gave us 2 hours, or if it was a full day, or consecutive number of weeks. Like, it's really fluid, like that we could just pull now onto the resources, and just need to do some minor edits versus having to create it all from scratch each time. So there's like modules on sleep and stress, module on, like we call it, same in nutrition and stress.
And we went through all the signs, okay, and focused in that way. And I actually used it, but I was up against time with the company, and that I was hoping for at least an hour and a half, and I only got an hour. And so I had to, like, Melody is saying, it's very fluid. We can, edit it and stuff like that. So I had to cut back because of time, but I was still able. It was so easy for me because we had already created, the foundation, which is just alone is good. So you can go over, it has to be at least an hour for sure. We know that, but you've got a lot of leeway if you want to make it into even, a full day workshop kind of thing, if you can find a company who will give you that time. But yeah, that's what we've done.
I think
we also were really mindful when we were creating it too. if it's going to be an online kind of workshop, like a Zoom call, we can use the group features now in Zoom. So you can have still breakout groups and have them work through and then come back and, have a group leader present, what they came up with. So it can still be very interactive, and help them start thinking through and using the tools. So part of it is like a presentation and talking about what the issue is, what the type of stressor is, possible solutions, how you think through in order to really make them more aware of, instead of reacting to stress automatically, to being more mindful about, okay, pause and choose or plan for, what kind of better reaction there could be that's less stressful for them and all the people around them, sort of thing. So giving them that practice, the practical part of it, I think is what would really make it really effective. I mean,
Absolutely.
if we were just going to stand up there presenting, we may as well just give them the workbook and say, here, read this,
Yeah.
As we come to the end of this webinar, I want to ask everybody if they are planning to set a specific day and time in the future where you will do a stress mastery workshop. I find that even if I have to change it, that if I say that on November 10th, I'm going to do a workshop on stress mastery for the community that I live in, the businesses that I live in, you make that decision, it'll change everything. If you don't make that decision, probably nothing's going to happen. So it starts with, I am going to do a workshop on this day, at this time, and I think maybe I'll do it over at this location, doesn't even matter. Then you start building the blocks, time, location, people, and block it in. Because if you don't make the decision, it's not going to happen. And I hate to say it, but I have to do this with myself, and I encourage you to do it with yourself. And if you need some help, I'm thinking about offering some, maybe a not mindfulness, but a mastermind group, maybe a small group, marketing. We could do it every 2 or 3 weeks, do it over 6 weeks, where we would handhold each other to go through the process. And that might be something that would be of interest to you guys. And I think that's what we need. I mean, I need a coach, you need a coach to help us get to where we want to go. We're our own worst enemies. We'll always find a reason to go have a cappuccino or go talk to somebody or do something over here. And we're not getting to where we want to go because of fear, anxiety that we're maybe not do so well, or feeling that maybe I need more training. Well, you know what? The best training is to throw yourself into the pot and get going. So my goal today was really to motivate and says what I shared with you is nothing new, but hopefully it gave you something to hang your hat on. And if you could just do one thing besides set the date to do your workshop, was there something anybody came away with that would be, hey, that's what I really want to start doing? I kind of missed that element, and I'm going to start on that area. Anybody have any aha moments? If you
I
didn't.
loved Paula's idea about using the Facebook group more. I mean, we can use that for accountability, and we can also, use that to share best practices, support each other, and, give each other, raves, what we're doing. So I totally forgot about the Facebook group. I mean, I feel like I'm in so many Facebook groups, but I'm definitely going to pin this one to the top and try to become more active and just sharing ideas with everyone.
Well, we could set that up. I mean, why not? Let's do it.
Yeah. Honor each other so that you also inspire at the same time, and then people are more likely to be active. I mean, you said you're in a lot of groups. You know how some groups are dead, and then some all of a sudden they come alive with just one person with a question, right?
Right.
And it goes off.
Setting that up, Ellen, would be something that you might spearhead it.
Well, I thought you already did it. You're muted. Isn't
I
it
know.
already done?
Is there a Facebook group, Jim?
Jim, you did that and then.
Well, I
you
have my own, yeah, I have my Facebook group and that we can use that. I was thinking, I didn't track that.
converted that into private, remember when I was talking?
Yeah,
with you
right.
about When you put
What
stuff
we
in
need-
the private
exactly.
group, everyone's in, I
And-
think you can use that one.
We
I'll
can-
look at it, what he has, I think he could use that, but. he may-
Well, I haven't gotten much traction on that yet, but I think we can now motivate people to kind of get involved and use
Right.
that. Everybody's commit to, hey, let's talk about things that I need to be doing right now. How can you help me with this? Can we collaborate on something? So help me build that back up and make it viable. Because I think I let that one go. That's my.
Well, you had it set up as a page and then you turned it into a group. That's what it was, because he was I caught him posting something on there that was accessible for others than us coaches, us associates. And I
Right.
said, why don't you have it as a group or create it as a private group?
And I did, Paula.
Right,
Thank
so- right, and then you invited people, so I think you've got a large people, so
We
why?
got 30, yeah, we got 33 people. We have 33
So I
people.
recreate something that you could maybe change. I haven't looked at it, but I think it looks fine. That. you-
Okay, everybody has a task that within the next week, post something on there of something that you want to talk about, a need that you might have, or an issue that you want to work on.
And each of us write back,
Right.
respond,
And we
okay?
respond, absolutely.
That's where it is. It comes from each of us responding to the other person, or, more than just a like. How about a comment?
Well, we can do it on two fronts. One is on marketing and one is on program development. So, because people have questions about, well, how do I design a program? What should I put in it? But we also try to focus on the marketing side and sales side and see what we can do there. Because I have a lot of experience on the sales side.
Right. And then it's like looking at, what is your, Alan, can you show me what your webpage looks like? Okay. Melody, what does yours look like? And how to get more ideas and all of that. I think you've got one going there. We just have to.
All right, we're gonna do that. And I've said this I think I did post this, but I would recommend that everybody take a look at their emails, how they sign off on the emails, what information is on your email, your accreditation, stress master, independent associate, whatever it is, so that everything that you do should be co-branded with us or others that you may be working with. Website should have stress master on it because you're an associate, and make that part of your co-branding. We have a pretty good reputation. We've been around long enough. So use that to elevate and kind of tie together what you're doing. Why not? I mean, and I see emails come in with just their name on it. I mean, that doesn't make sense. You need to have your website. Who do you belong to? What are your accreditations? Or maybe you have a little video on there. Christina, did you want to say something? No. I thought I saw you raise your hand.
Sorry, no, I'm moving around. But thank you. This was great. And it's, I can't recall exactly, a couple of little things, but it just refuels you, right? When you're sitting behind your screen, you're sitting with your clients, and oh yeah, and it just kind of makes you go, oh, I haven't done this in a while. I haven't done that. I should do this. This is a great idea, or just kind of re-energizes. So thank you for the webinar.
And
Well,
I just
thank
want to
you.
make one more point of interest to everyone is that the workshops that Melody and our group had created, we used Jim's resources, okay, just like your ants, okay, we brought that in there, so it wasn't something that we created really from scratch. It all came from the resources. The only thing we created from scratch were like our pictures and then our ideas of how to put it together. But he's got a lot of great resources there for us to utilize.
Use them as much as you can. So the commitment is to do a workshop by the end of 2022. And I expect to see from you an email about what date you're going to do this on, and we will get started.
Very good.
Be bold.
Yes. And remember, April is stress.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
Good idea of
let's-
what you might
let's
want to
make that
try
up.
to do.
Well, by the way, forget about December, the end of December for any workshops. If you can do it in late October, November, early, because don't forget we have Thanksgiving here in the United States, and you guys in Canada have Thanksgiving on. What is your date for Thanksgiving in Canada?
Usually around the 10th or 12th of October also,
Oh, okay.
earlier, a couple of weeks earlier than the US.
So keep that in mind. Well, thank you all so much. If you have any other ideas, please send them on to me. We'll be looking for your comments on the Stress Master group. And we'll see you soon, I hope.
All right, thanks a lot. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, Jim. Bye,
Thank
everyone.
you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.